morning, and good afternoon to in-house counsel from all across North America. Welcome to In-House Connect. My name is Shai Mahani. I'm the CEO and co-founder of In-House Connect, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. Thank you for spending your breakfast time or your lunchtime with us, and special thanks to our wonderful sponsor, LexisNexis, and our fantastic presenters today, Kris Satkunas and Vandana Dhamija, for teaching us how to reach seamless workflow, how to combine ELM and CLM to level up your legal department. This is our 28th event of the year, and I'm wondering, are you here for the first time or have you been with us before? It looks like we have a 70-30 split, meaning 70% returning, 30% new. So welcome to the 30% and welcome back to the 70%. Okay, today's event is reaching seamless workflow, combining ELM and CLM to level up your legal department. Our first panelist is Kris Satkunas. As Director of Strategic Consulting at LexisNexis, Kris leads the CounselLink team's efforts to advise corporate legal department managers on improving operations with data-driven decisions. Kris has over 20 years of consulting experience in the legal industry. Areas of expertise include benchmarking, practice area metrics and scorecards, matter pricing, and cost management. Our next panelist is Vandana Dhamija. Vandana is founder and CEO of a consulting practice called Legal Operations Consulting. She has won 2 awards, one for change management and innovation for her contract management project, and a second for process improvement for her global rate program. She brings over 20 years of project management and operational experience to her corporate legal department and law firm clients, encouraging an atmosphere of understanding and collaboration between both. Her expertise spans diverse in-house legal and compliance roles at multi-billion-dollar organizations such as Viacom, BlackRock, and JP Morgan Chase. Her solution-driven practice provides real-world, long and short-term, tailor-made strategic solutions. Again, we have a great panel. Each of them has over 20 years of experience in this integral, subject, and we're very fortunate to have them. So with that, I'll turn things over to Kris to get us started.
Thank you, Shai, for the opportunity to speak to your community, and welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. There is much uncertainty about the state of the economy, which complicates how legal has to be prepared to meet business needs. And technology can help ease pain points, but there are a lot of tech companies out there making a lot of noise. Therefore, it's critical to carefully evaluate your needs and screen out the noise to see which tech can really support you by thoughtfully utilizing a process where you plan, do, check, and act so that you can gain efficiency, improve decision-making, and optimize how your department supports your organization. There are lots of things contributing to the economic uncertainty, from very recent events related to bank collapses to other pressures that have been in the making all year or longer. And there have been many headlines and articles about all these topics that you see listed on this slide. Hardly a day goes by where I don't see a headline about law firm layoffs. Some of you may be feeling pressure to manage headcount within your departments as well. And for many law firms, both the layoffs and the rate increases are ways of reacting to a drop in profits per partner in 2022, or fearing another drop in profits per partner in 2023. I analyze hourly billing rates in depth every year when I author our CounselLink Trends Report, which is due to be released very soon. And for those of you on this webinar, a sneak peek into the results of what we've seen is that 2022 had the highest individual timekeeper rate increases that we've seen in the almost 10 years we have produced the report. So big rate increases, and there's not likely an end in sight to more expensive billable hours. So what's next? The need to be more efficient and do more with less points to automation. And Gartner research, as you can see here, supports this. So on top of the pressure due to economic uncertainty that I just spoke of, legal teams have had to cope with an influx of regulation, new laws, the constant need to update and stay on top of risk management strategies. And automation can help to streamline processes and can help to identify and manage risk. And both ELM and CLM are critical to managing this whole picture. And during our session today, we'll demonstrate the value of having all that information managed in one place, both ELM and CLM. So I'm going to turn to our first poll. This one's a quick one to see, how everybody on this call aligns with some of the Gartner research that we've seen. So 3 choices: is your tech budget increasing, staying the same, or pretty much staying the same? Is it decreasing? Give us a feel for kind of how you line up here and what you're thinking about.
Quick question. It's really interesting that you're finding that, in 2022, billing rates went up so much. Do you think it's because inflation has risen? Do you think it's a demand thing? Like why this year has it risen so much?
Yeah, so I think it's both of those things that you just spoke to. Inflation, the rising costs for law firms to run their businesses, past increases of associate salaries prior years, I think has affected it, but then also that some demand went down, all the transactions, M&A sorts of things were down last year. So I think it's the combination of all of those things and probably some others that drew that increase. And those things aren't changing, right? So that's part of why we anticipate them to continue to go up.
Got it. I'll share the polls results.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
While we're waiting for that, I think just to add to that, Kris, would be there were some folks who had these billing rates frozen for a period of time. And that could also contribute that now, you've held your rates for a couple of years and you come back to the table. So that could also be contributing to this increase.
Yes, absolutely. I think the pandemic did cause some firms to hold their rates or at the request of some of their customers. Okay, so I think I see the results here, and 2/3 of our respondents say their tech budgets are about staying the same, and then second, 28% with tech budgets increasing. So with that, the right technology really becomes important to be thinking about. So Vandana, I think that's a great segue actually for you to take it from here. I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks, Kris. Thanks, Shai, for giving this opportunity to me to come and chat with your group, with this amazing group here. So we just saw the poll. Some people, 30% are saying, yes, their technology budgets are increasing. Some saying they're remaining the same. I think that brings us to, what next? What's next for you? Things are changing. We have COVID. We've all learned that things are forever evolving. And how do we manage manage this change? So I think the first step in this process, if you're starting your journey here, is to have a very, very clear understand your needs. Question that one should ask is, what are your needs today? Why are you seeking this technology? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? And then go down the path of saying, yes, this is my problem statement, and this is how I'm going to approach it. Having a skeleton plan in place as you're thinking through these things is important. Having a plan that is nimble will help you navigate these changes. And as you're what I call reprioritizing your requirements. So understand why you're in this journey, what are you trying to achieve. Next comes along is the people. Do you have the right resources internally to work on this project? Do you need to bring in someone from the outside world to help you out with this? So do you have the right people? Do you have the right process in place? Is your process wrapped around the people that sit within your organizations? Over the years, I've seen alternative legal service providers come in and offering services. So it all depends on where you are in your journey. If you're just starting out, you have a lot of choices in terms of how you want to take this journey. I say start off with your process mapping, lay out what your current state is, understand your pain points very clearly. It's important. Having a process map will give you the ability to think about, if I make a change in this third step, how is it impacting the rest of my workflow? So having a visual of what your process is really important. And in my experience, when I sit down with folks and we are talking about the process, I find the people who do the process have a certain view, and the people who are managing from a satellite view have a view of what their process is. So I think it's a great place to stop and realign and to think about, this is how my world is. I think having a clear understanding of your world really goes a long way. Next comes along technology. There are a lot of vendors that are offering solutions. I find particularly in the contract management space, we have life cycle tools, and then we have vendors who bring in point solutions. So as you look at all the technology in this space, you will find a lot of choices, some things that will help you track the volume, cost, your matters and contract statuses. So again, it boils down to, what are you trying to solve for? What are your pain points? Do you have a process in place? And the technology really is something that will tie all those things together. And as you bring in the technology, think about what's important to you. So know your KPIs. Think about what do you want to report on. As you're going down this technology path, you will think about, it would be really great to, what is success? Define your success at this point. As Peter Drucker says, you can't manage what you can't measure. So be clear about what you're trying to achieve. And the analytics part of it is, it's great to report on your achievements. So give it some thought as you're buying your technology. Does it have those dashboards that would really help you dig into the data? So don't just rush into the market to buy a piece of technology. Do some groundwork ahead of time. Sit down with your team. If you have someone who is skilled and can process map these things for you, then that's really helpful. So I say that's a good place to start your journey. So now our thought really is to plan carefully for technology. So there comes along our workflows. We think about technology as something that would be easy to use, very intuitive, because it directly impacts your user adoption. So think about how it's going to make your world, how when you buy this piece of technology, you bring it into your organization, how is it easy to use? Did you think through your workflows very clearly or not? And so the tying your workflows will really give you true visibility into how your statuses of your matters are. And as you're going down, there will be a lot of voices in the room. There will be a number of people who will be saying, let's do this differently. I say, go back to your plan. Look at how you have prioritized your things. Make sure that you're focusing on your goals that you set out to at the beginning of this journey, and consider the cost of technology. I think 30% of this group does acknowledge the fact that they need the technology and need to be out there spending it wisely. So as you think through it, technology is going to help you, but you have to think through your problems. I keep coming back to that, because if you lose sight of what you're trying to solve, why you're trying to solve, would really put you down a path that will not get you the results that you are looking for. Analytics, I feel like the first set of analytics, I call it the first taste of analytics, you will go in and you'll see things that you never saw before. It's almost like you'll start seeing what's the workloads that your team is facing. If you have an ELM system that you're putting in place, you will start noticing someone who has the biggest workload. Maybe you want to think about hiring another person in that. So I think all this data and analytics that come really leads you and helps you to think about driving improvement, changing things around. So I think investing in technology really is a long game. Now, as you go down this path, what really is important also to keep in view is what are the pitfalls to avoid. I think it is essential to consider many factors when you make such a decision. Chief amongst them is the cost, time, and risk associated. I think all of us think about the cost at the onset, but the time and the risk are two factors, that the amount of time your team will spend internally on this and what is the risk associated with bringing this technology in is lightly thought about. So give it some thought. If you think through these factors very clearly, you will find that you've engaged with your right stakeholders. You've got everyone with you along in this journey. I feel also that once you're in this journey, how are you socializing this project within your organization? As you socialize, you will find some hands will go up within your organization and say, we'd love to be part of your project. Matter managements, typically you will have within your team. If you're socializing it, one of your lunches that you're having, you will have hands up and say, I would love to, join this and be a part of it. If you're rolling out a CLM tool, you may find your procurement team, your finance team would like to have representation. So I feel like bringing those people into the mix reduces the risk of failure. So it's certainly a good thing to do. Finally, it is essential to note the budget cuts can lead to knee-jerk reactions. Another COVID could come along. How are you going to go down this path and actually spend the dollars that you had set aside for this? So have the long game in mind, but at the same time, don't make knee-jerk reactions, which are costly for an organization. With that, we shall move on to our next poll.
While people are filling out the poll, do you have any tips for, maybe there's people out there who have two different systems, like an ELM and a CLM that, don't talk to each other. Do you have any tips on how to integrate, or is it better to, start over and get a new solution that has both implemented?
But that's a great question. In my experience, as you start using these tools, you start realizing that you outgrow a certain tool at a certain level. The technology today is changing at such a fast pace. So I see a mix, I see a hybrid approach. I see some organizations taking a pause and saying, let's look at we have the CLM system. Is it truly working for us? I do see majority of the people out there wanting to integrate these two tools, and also as these are coming up, maybe you've had something for about 2 years or 3 years. I find those people coming into the market to look at what's available. Is there a tool that is integrated out of the box? I think there is an appetite out there for an integrated tool, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sharing the results. So it looks like the majority have neither solution, followed by a CLM. CLM seems, very popular these days as a technology, and e-billing or enterprise legal management is 6%, and then 19% people say they have both. So that's really, really interesting. In my experience, I've seen, most legal departments start with an e-billing solution before a CLM. So it's interesting to see, the results of this poll for this audience.
Most certainly, Shai. I think that is, I say to the folks that don't have any technology, I think it's a Having an ELM system is a good place to start to wrap your arms around your matters. Certainly, if you have an opportunity to pick a tool that has both, so I just say it's perfectly fine wherever you are in your journey. Doesn't matter. Just go out there and look for one. So this is a fantastic thing for those who have both. I'm sure they are the ones who are trying to either they have integrated it or they could be using those two tools separately. I wonder if people would love to share if they have two separate things and that they've been using in the chat box. In my experience, having enrolled many systems out when I was in-house and now as a consultant and helping people, I think one needs to think about this as a continuous process. One starts in the planning stage, goes to recognizes the opportunity, plans for the change, puts down the requirements, has a plan in place, then goes on to the doing, where you actually go out there and carry out a small scale study. I think for folks that are new and are trying things out, there is absolutely a pilot approach where you launch your pilot with a small group of people. That could be a small and easy win for you. And then you go back and check whether the workflows that you had built, are they truly working in the real world? And put down the things that are working well and note down the things that are not working too well. And based on things that are not working well, you take those things and go back into the planning stage. So that's how I look at this as a continuous plan, do, check, act. So don't think that you're going to put out a project, do that and walk away from it. You will be coming back and re-looking at things. Let's look at how to choose the planning part of it. Let's focus a little bit more on the planning part. Creating a project goal, having a project objective. Are you looking for a repository to store all your documents? Are you looking to bring efficiencies to your manual processes? Have a clear vision. I say, I've learned more in having a coffee with some of the stakeholders than I've ever learned about putting them in a room and asking questions. So I say, go with the approach that suits the culture of your organization. Have a cup of coffee with someone and you'll learn so much. And as you're doing this, document it. I mean, if you have someone who could document things from a project point of view, it's very valuable. And if you don't have someone, I still say start by, creating a Word document and just putting those things down till you find the right person who could actually put these things into a workflow for you. It's important for you to envision your future state. You may want to bring in someone who could help. You could look within your organization. Maybe you have someone on the IT team that could come in, or you could look out at experts who've done this many a times before. It's important that you list down your key benefits. This way, as your project moves along, you're on the right track. List down your project sequence. Are you going to start with selecting a subject matter expert? Or are you looking for your research internally? Are you going to go into an RFP? So think about those things as you're going down this path. The next thing I would say is the focus. Focus on your immediate needs without regard for business strategy. Many legal departments focus only on immediate needs with insufficient regard for how these initiatives support the business strategy. So here I think about your business maybe in a situation where they want all their contracts flowing through at a high velocity. Are you buying a piece of technology that would actually make that happen? Is your processes that you've laid down, are they creating roadblocks? How robust are these workflows? How can you move a contract through your organization fast? So think about those things and focus on what your business wants. If What's more important to them is put that on your must-have list, and then make sure that you have your must-have list, and the things that are of lower importance, you could put them on your nice-to-have list. What's important here is to think through things, get some quick wins, and build your credibility within the organization. Just keep at it. Just think through, document, think about how your planning process is going to be done. Starting in this process is really, really important. And as you go down this journey, there would be noise. What I call noise is there are some folks who come in and they come in from their point of view, and they have one problem, and your 1 hour meeting is now discussing something that is truly a problem, but could have been articulated in a different way, where you could have taken maybe 5 or 10 minutes of the meeting to talk about it. So what's important is to tune out that noise out of the process. So this way, again, you keep your focus on the must-haves, something that is important to your business, and keep moving along in this journey. Now let's touch upon a little bit on the do stage. Here I talk about expanding the criteria beyond cost savings and cost optimization. By utilizing technology, organizations can take a look at other factors, such as their performance, quality, and customer satisfaction. When it comes to making decisions, they're based in data. For example, when you roll out a CLM, your vision may be to get one repository for all your contracts. This one goal brings a lot of efficiencies that when you see on first blush. The contract in a single repository gives you an opportunity to layer on post-execution management of these contracts. When is the contract expiring? What are your financial obligations? What are your internal teams? How aligned are they? Can they all have access to the same information at the same time without writing an email? So here you've gotten your one, I'm going to get all my documents in one area, and look at the value that you just brought to your organization. Next, I would say think about creating a culture of continuous cost optimization. Legal technology can create an environment that encourages your employees to develop ideas, and ideas could be to reduce cost, increase efficiency. For example, an annual review of your contract templates, a quarterly review of your signatories, a check-in with your finance team to ensure signatories, if changed, have been brought back. If there is a change, then there is a direct impact to your CLM. You need to put all your contracts and reroute them to their new signatories. So again, a change in one part of your organization could have an impact on how your systems that are in place need to be updated or changed. Reward ideas. I say, encourage your team to come up with ideas. If they have something that would maybe cut out 1 or 2 people from your workflow, any efficiency ideas are more than welcome. Encourage them. Adding metrics to dashboard and employee objectives. By using technology, organizations can track, measure their employees' performance. For example, legal and procurement. Sometimes legal seems to be looked at as the people who are slowing down the process. So I think if you had a technology in place that would really shine a light on there was a delay in getting that document in the hands of the legal team. So again, it's more about thinking about your workflow, seeing where the roadblocks are, and the systems that you put in place will really make this whole process transparent. The last bullet here enables multi-party collaboration to inform quick decisions. Finally, we will see how technology enables multi-party party collaboration. If you have a system in place that allows your internal teams, your external teams to collaborate seamlessly, then that becomes a huge value. And you will certainly see that real-time collaboration really brings so much efficiency. You are not digging into your emails looking for, where the contract is, or sending 2 emails to figure out what the status of that contract is. So collaboration will also help you make your decision making, which also would be based in data. Next is the check stage. Here we talk about the tech marketplace. There's a lot of choices, so look through them and look through what truly solves your problems. Make sure that you're looking for holistic solutions. Make sure your goals that you have put down are being met by these tools, and that you are able to build consensus amongst your stakeholders and get consensus around what your desired outcomes are. By understanding your current landscape, you can create a roadmap that will enable you to make informed decisions. Now on the act stage, I think we've spoken a lot about what your process should be. I think review your process against your goal targets, modify your plans based on changing business conditions. For example, you could, as you're rolling out, things come in, maybe you could put them as part of phase 2 of your project. You could reprioritize your project, but just know that noting down all these changes and the reasons why you're making these changes is really important, because when you look back at your project, you will need to know that. And also the Gartner report spoke to how the CLOs are looking to adopting technology. 30% invest in document management and workflow tools. 25 have collaboration, matter management, data privacy, analytics, and of course, e-signature. So as you go down this journey, just know that there are other people. You could reach out to experts. You could reach out to people who've gone down these journeys before. Doesn't matter where you are in your process, think through and kick off your project. So with that thought, I will hand this back to you, Kris.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for all that wonderful information about process and how important it is to plan and not react to needs or wants. So once you've determined your technology needs and chosen the right solution and implemented it, right, as Vandana alluded to, you're going to want to stay on that path of continuous improvement, or what I think of as maturity. So for some context, at CounselLink, we have a maturity model that aligns well with other industry models, but is more narrowly focused on the ways that we can help legal departments make better decisions. And we categorize those decisions as day-to-day and strategic. So for example, think about maturity related to contract management. The primary types of decisions that CLM helps with are matter work, right, or the steps that are involved in creating and negotiating contracts, business outcomes, helping the business achieve its goals related to the contract, staffing and sourcing, and then selecting the right metrics or KPIs to be part of your metrics programs. And legal departments start gaining maturity in all of these types of decisions by gaining consistency first across their organization with how they make those decisions. And then they evolve to use some data elements to inform those decisions, and eventually getting more analytical until they optimize their decision-making processes. And I'll briefly walk through each level of maturity and provide both ELM and CLM examples. I want this to be as tangible as I can make it for you, so I'm definitely going to speak to actual examples. So a legal department moves from an ad hoc to a consistent level of maturity by having processes that are enforced. For example, in CounselLink, Firms can't bill their customers without having approved fee offers, or in some cases, without having an approved budget. So CounselLink enforces consistency of vendor behavior. And then similarly, on the CLM side, contracts get managed more consistently by having a system that automates processes. Using templates, by definition, helps to foster consistency and to quickly assess when contracts deviate from a standard. Collaborative review removes the inconsistency of having multiple versions of contracts out there in play at a given time. And then all of the examples that you see here on this page help to ensure consistency for each step of a contract's life cycle that are listed out in the last bullet: requesting the contract, initiating it, reviewing and negotiating, ultimately approving and signing it, and then going on to manage the executed contract. And here's a visual example of how CounselLink CLM enables consistency. As an in-house attorney responsible for contracts, this is my dashboard, which gives me complete visibility to what I should be prioritizing. Every one of these sections is a link. So for instance, on the right, I see 3 requests pending my response. And if I click on that section, I get taken directly to those requests where I can respond to them right in the application. Features such as this priority dashboard, help ensure that stakeholders are in the loop on all contracts at the right moment, which helps to improve cycle time and efficiency. And then I just want to be clear on what we mean when we talk about integrating CLM with ELM. So this image that you're looking at here is the main dashboard for CounselLink. So any CounselLink user opens up the application, and this is what they see, with some configuration that they can do to it to make it more meaningful to them. And then to access CounselLink CLM, it's a simple click on the contracts tab. The print is kind of small, so that's what the red arrow is pointing at. That's the contract tab. A user clicks on that and they get taken here, right? They get taken directly to your in-progress contracts. Clicking on a given contract title will take you into the contract that's in progress, so you can see edits, notes, and open discussions, and continue to add your own comments. So the integration means there's no need for 2 applications, 2 logins, etc. Individuals in the legal department can review invoices and manage other matters in the same place where they interact with their contracts. And I think one of the key things here as I'm talking about consistency is this type of integration is yet another way to build consistency into the legal department. Okay, moving to the next level of maturity, a legal department is making data-informed decisions when they incorporate some amount of data into their decision-making processes. It doesn't mean the decision is fully data-driven, but it's informed by data. To reach this level, obviously, it's critical to have access to data. And in some cases, that may mean preformed analytic dashboards that allow a user to interact directly with the information and easily get to what they want. But it also means the ability to create ad hoc reports for custom needs of a given department. And the best way here too that I can show what I mean of what it looks like to be data informed is to give you a couple examples. This one is ELM related. So this is a standard CounselLink analytics dashboard related to matter intake. And it provides quick visibility into how much demand is on the legal department. And in terms of my decision-making maturity, what decisions are made that relate to matter intake? Well, one would be who should own the request. Well, workflow will likely help with that, right? Workflow will help gain consistency. Workflow will likely route the request to the appropriate party. But somebody using this management information that's using data to help inform their decisions may look at the bar chart that's in the middle of this image and see that the person on the far right is overloaded. And manager may make the decision to reroute the request to somebody with more capacity. Ultimately, a more strategic decision that the same data might inform is staffing. Like, do we have enough people to handle the demand or the increasing demand that we're seeing on the legal department? And then similarly, legal departments more mature in CLM will use data to inform decisions related to contracts. This is an example of an interactive analytics dashboard available within CounselLink CLM. And what you see here relates to specifically in progress contracts. So here too, a user can drill into any section of this dashboard to see detail about the individual contracts. So how does this sort of data inform decision-making about contracts? Well, a couple examples. For instance, if the number of contracts we have in progress is increasing, you can see in the upper left that there are 79 active contracts for this organization. So if volume is increasing and so is cycle time, which we also see represented here as one of the metrics, well, that may inform a staffing decision. Second, perhaps we're thinking about updating our templates. Seeing information like what is in the bottom right related to where we are seeing non-standard terms in our contracts could inform the clauses that we choose to review. And then briefly, this is the second tab of the CLM dashboard I just shared with you. So that one was about in progress contracts. This one provides key metrics related to contracts that have been executed. So the questions that, or the decisions that this could help inform is, well, which contracts do we need to be prepared to renew and potentially renegotiate? The chart in the top middle section about approaching renewals gives us a leg up as to what's coming down the pike. And then take that a step further. Perhaps we might want to know which of the upcoming renewals is not on our paper. So we need a little extra time to review and negotiate those. So this sort of data helps us make those decisions and others related to managing executed contracts. All right, we are going to stop for our third and last poll before I wrap up the maturity section. So I just shared some metrics and dashboards related to contracts. A lot of you indicated that you have contract lifecycle management systems. So whether you have a system or not, I'm interested in knowing if you have visibility into how many contracts in your enterprise are set to expire sometime soon. A few different options here, because I know there's some gray area. Is it fairly easy for you to get to that data? Is it possible, but you have to go to multiple sources? And then, you report on this sort of thing, but you're not sure that you're not terribly confident in the accuracy of it, or do you not have access to it?
So I had a question, and I saw a little bit of a discussion in the chat about who owns this process. And I don't want to disrupt your presentation. So, hopefully we'll cover that afterwards. But it'll be interesting to discuss who owns the process and some ideas for collaborating with the various business units like procurement or maybe, IT or finance who might own this process besides for legal.
Yeah, that's a great topic. I definitely would like to open that up. Maybe at the end, Vandana and I can both share our opinions about that and see what else the audience might think. But great topic. And a controversial one. So, yes. All right, well, it looks like we've got most of the participants, have shared their responses. So I'm seeing no. So 63%, by far the largest group of you, don't have visibility into it. So I think that having seen and heard about some of the benefits of having access to that, I hope that you try to find ways to be able to have that visibility. So the next rung on the maturity ladder is making decisions analytically. So I talked about data informed, right? So how does analytical differ from data informed decisions? And they're certainly related. But analysis generally means that somebody is following a process whereby they start to answer a question with a set of data, and then they probe deeper. Perhaps they add some additional data points until they have enough information that they can make a decision or a recommendation. And I'll give a couple of examples. The first is likely a real scenario within many of your legal departments this year. Perhaps your budget has been tightened and you're being asked to find ways to reduce expenses in the legal department. To decide how and where to do this, you might look under a lot of different rocks, but one place you might look would be at billing rates, right? So you're going to conduct a rate analysis and you'd start with at least a couple years of data, looking at timekeeper rate by practice, by law firm size, maybe by geography, other cuts, and that's going to help identify which firms are billing rates that are outliers for you. You might also look at trends over time to see which of your firms and timekeepers have increased their rates more over time. You might incorporate external benchmark rates like we have available in CounselLink Insight to see what your peers are paying for similar types of work to similar law firms. So there's not one single data point that will inform a decision, but it's an analysis that triangulates all this data that will lead you to that solid recommendation and decision. And then an example related to contracts, perhaps you've noticed that your cycle times are increasing. So the analysis you might take on is to identify the source or sources of bottlenecks that are leading to this increase. And you'd want to mine data related to the individuals involved in each stage of contract execution to be able to answer that question. Once you have completed that analysis, maybe you make a decision to change your workflow, or there may be other related decisions there. So, and then the final stage of maturity, I know we're about to run out of time here, but the final stage of maturity is making decisions in an optimal way, right? Over time, as you have become analytical decision makers, you'll likely automate some of those analytic processes. And AI is going to help us get there even more rapidly. I think it's important to be clear that reaching an optimal state of decision making is never just one and done. And Vandana certainly spoke to this as well. A mature legal department is always going to be looking for ways to continuously improve. And it's the job of good tech companies to help you do that. I think we have some final thoughts here. I wanted to give Vandana a chance to chime in here at the end, and then hopefully we have time for a few questions, Shai, if you've seen some that we should respond to. So Vandana, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Kris. Great insights into the levels of maturity. I think here, I think our audience today here is looking to bring efficiencies into their process. So certainly this slide is talking about an integrated world where you have all your access to all your matters, your workflows are thought about, you have all your legal invoices, and arms around your spend, your outside counsel optimization in place, your contracts in one repository. So this is a dream state, having your dashboards, you've connected your ELM, CLM systems to your internal HR systems. And so this is a dream world. But I would like to leave you today with one thought. If you are sitting on the sidelines and saying, oh, my day is exploding, you're not alone. There are other folks who are in that spot as well, but inaction is not a choice. You have great pieces of technology that are available to you that are integrated. CounselLink offers their ELM CLM solution, which I have rolled out myself, is great choice, and should start your journey and go out there and get something that works for you.
All right. Thank you, Vandana and Kris. We'll have questions, and folks, if you have questions, please put it in the chat. We will feed it to our panel. If you think that the presentation was great, put that in the chat as well. So first question, most legal departments kind of share, it seems like, there's a sharing of this project, in terms of legal technology generally with either procurement or another group. And, we touched on this earlier. You said it was a controversial topic. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, Kris and Vandana, on how you see it typically play out, how you think it should play out, or some tips on engaging other stakeholders to marshal this technology through. And, with legal tech, it's really, it impacts the full organization. Maybe sales has a say in it too. So it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on that, on how that typically goes.
Yeah, so specific to CLM, which I think is more of what the question is speaking about than ELM. I think it's our perspective at CounselLink that legal should own CLM. And the primary reason for that, from my perspective, is that legal touches every contract in some way, or should touch every contract, right? And you've got other stakeholders who will be involved in some contracts and not other contracts. So making sure that I think that legal is the owner helps to manage risk associated with those contracts, as the individuals who are thinking about the risk to the organization more than others may be. Vandana, I don't know if you share that opinion, or if you've got other thoughts. I'm certainly all ears.
No, I think, Kris, I think for the most part, legal owns this process primarily, as you stated, because of the risks. The risk management aspect is in legal's responsibility. I've seen certain organizations where smaller organizations that are more focused on selling their products, I've seen the sales team sort of starting out the journey with owning it. And at some point, once their legal team has grown to a certain size, then legal takes ownership of it. So I think legal is the right place for the contract management system to be owned. But even though legal owns it, I've seen collaborations between sales, IT, procurement, because in the contracting process, the first step is the vendor aspect comes in. And the vendor aspect typically sits under the finance team or the procurement team, where you're vetting out and making sure that you're dealing with the right vendors. So it's always collaborating, legal owning, and the other teams, your IT, your sales, finance, procurement, collaborating with you, but with you in lead. I think that's where I've seen success when especially the CLM tool is being rolled out.
Another question, what is a good area to start the CLM or ELM journey? I think you mentioned a pilot before. Are there any good, easy, low-hanging fruit situations that could serve as a pilot for either ELM or CLM?
See, if you're coming into the market today, you have a choice. So you have a choice where you are out of the box, an integrated system is available to you. You could buy a tool that has both those capabilities, and then start your journey, maybe tracking all your matters. Start with your ELM portion of it, and as you are getting your legal team to put in all that information in there, and then you start engaging in parallel with your organization, looking at the contracting needs as well. Bringing in an additional resource to help you do that is a great investment, because then within a span of a few months, you have your cases, your matters that are within your organization at your fingertips, where they are in terms of the statuses. And then you have already started your journey with your CLM, which really, so buy a tool that works for you, that's a holistic approach to technology, and then start in one, and then bring and go on to the second module as and when your organization has the time to work on that.
It sounds like CounselLink has a ton of data on billing rates, right, for outside counsel. Does CounselLink have basically benchmarking data? Does CounselLink have some sort of benchmarks on, average contract cycle time or velocity? It would be interesting to compare and contrast, by my legal department with, another legal department, or, if there's metrics generally about number of contracts and what the average time, even though obviously there's many differences between contracts, it would be interesting to hear if that's something that CounselLink can do.
It's a great question, exactly where my head has been recently too, because I'm kind of the data nerd at CounselLink. So we've evolved what the metrics that we benchmark over the years. Started just with billing rates. We also measure use of AFAs. We measure how many vendors our customers engage, and the sorts of metrics you mentioned related to contracts is definitely on our radar. So not something I easily have access to today, but we certainly will. I'm certain that we will have those sorts of benchmarks in the future.
Right, and I could just add to that, Kris. I think I could, Shai, I could share with you some metrics for a particular client that would be of interest to this group. Guys, I've seen the contract time for this client was 60 days, was a typical contract that would take. And they went from 60 days to 3 days. So I've seen a lot of success in terms of when your processes are thought out very clearly. You can accelerate and close out a contract in a single day to 3 days. That's the range the customers have when they have a CLM like CounselLink in place.
That's amazing. And then I guess last question, and then we'll break. CounselLink, right, provides the standard metrics on, attorney productivity. So you can really, it sounds like you can, from the matter intake part, you can assign it to a particular, lawyer who then negotiates the contract, has it, processed for execution, and all of that is reportable. Is that's accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. I mean, that's another great example of data and how powerful it can be for you to be able to benchmark, especially for particular types of work, what sort of workload is typical. So yes, another metric for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's like, when you're with this tool, you could take some basic questions. They have a template selector built in. So you could load up your standard templates into the system and basically self-serve your organization. So where someone, if they're taking your standard templates, they could go through the process, send the contract off to the counterparty. The back and forth can happen. Still, no one touches the template in any way, shape, or form. Legal is not embedded in the process. The minute an edit is made or some kind of a change is made to that contract, legal gets routed, and then the system has that workflow in the background. So you can be assured that nothing would move through the organization without the eyes from the legal department on it. So there's a lot of bells and whistles that come along with this technology that reduce your risk in a big way.
Kris and Vandana, do you want to say, final closing thoughts before we break for the day?
Yes, love to. So I think my parting thoughts would be, I spoke a lot about maturity, and to keep in mind that wherever you are along that maturity continuum is fine, but you should have goals about where you want to be related to maturity of particular areas and prioritize how you're going to get there.
That's great, Kris. I think I'd just like to add to that, Shai, is wherever you are in your journey, reach out. You have our contact information. We are happy to chat with you, guide you to where you need to be, but just go out there and start making your change. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore.
All right. Well, thank you, Kris and Vandana, for a great presentation. I love this graphic. And if this graphic resonates with you, probably reach out to Kris or Vandana or any of the LexisNexis folks who are participating in the chat today. So we will break for the day. Thank you again to LexisNexis. Thank you, Kris and Vandana, for a wonderful, wonderful presentation.